got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the sand. And right now, I feel like 100 grand.
You are listening to Inspired Insider with your host, Dr. Jeremy Wise.
Dr. Jeremy Wise here, founder of InspiredInsider.com, where I talk with inspirational entrepreneurs like the founders of RX Bar, Einstein Bagels, Atari, and many more, and how they overcome big challenges in life and business. Our sponsor today is Rise25.com, which I co-founded with my business partner, John Corcoran. Rise25 hosts in-person VIP events and masterminds for top entrepreneurs all over the country, including many events in the e-commerce industry. Last year, we hosted events in Austin, Chicago, Santa Barbara, San Diego, New York, Sonoma, and Las Vegas, and maybe coming to a city near you. So if you see the value of immersing yourself with other top entrepreneurs to connect and collaborate to get your business to the next level, go to rise25.com and contact us to find out when and where our next event will be. I am very excited to introduce today's guest. We have Michael Eldridge, who's founder of SafetyGlassesUSA.com. His experience as a U.S. Marine veteran, thank you for your service, Michael, auto mechanic and assembly line technician, amplified the importance of vision safety. And in 2000, he turned his knowledge into one of the web's most popular companies for protective eyewear. They've grown to 20 plus employees and have supplied protective eyewear and safety equipment to hundreds of thousands of satisfied customers around the world. Michael, thanks for joining me.
Thanks for having me.
You go by Mike or Michael?
Either one is fine.
Okay.
Mike is fine.
What is your wife?
My friends call me Mike.
Friend? Okay. Friends. We'll go with friends. So, Mike, I wanted to start off, back in 2000, right? That was like the beginning days of the internet. And walk me through when you first started selling online. What did that look like?
Whew,
you were a machine operator at the time. Were you doing the machine operating and then
that's correct. Yes,
okay.
I was an assembly line technician, correct.
Yep.
Assembling prop shafts for different types of GM vehicles and whatnot. Basically, the whole thing started from our dissatisfaction with the eyewear that we had to wear in the factory. A lot of it was big and bulky. It was uncomfortable. And the only way you could really order it was through a giant safety catalog, which meant you had to go talk to different departments and get together these big group orders. And it just...
Because they wouldn't sell like one at a time. You had to kind of buy in bulk.
Correct. You had to buy in bulk. And
so you had to get everyone to agree what safety eyeglass they liked. And that would be hard to do.
Yeah. And back then, the selection was very limited. There really wasn't a lot of... cool styles out there, so to speak. But so we started doing some research, and I had a partner at the time. I actually started a business with a partner, and I'm not going to mention any names because he might keep him private.
Sure. But
we started doing some research into seeing what vendor or what manufacturer would actually work with us for starters, and we found 3. And he had some experience on selling wholesale products in the past before he started working at the factory. Mm-hmm. So he took on the phone sales portion of it, and me being the nerd of the group, I took on the website sales portion of it. I had no experience in building any websites at the time. I had a little bit of basic HTML knowledge.
I mean, what are the options really at the time?
There really wasn't anything. If I'm correct, this is before WordPress.
For sure.
So did some research, and Yahoo was the main search engine back then. We kind of stumbled on and decided to go with Yahoo stores. That was where we started with the e-commerce platform. As you can imagine, the templates back then were extremely basic. The functionality was, at the time we thought it was cool, but nowhere near what you get today.
How did you accept payment at the time? Did it link up with like a shopping cart or something? Or?
They had a built-in solution through, I think it was called Payment Tech at the time, and that was one of the things that was so appealing was it had a built-in payment solution where Payment Tech was the gateway and the merchant provider all in one. So that was kind of the selling point at the time. And so I built this website. We had a handful of products. I want to say we started with like 25 products. And I was kind of addicted to all these, at the time, 3D animations were like really popular, these little cartoonish creations. So this website had all these terrible animations all over it.
Oh, you put them in there?
Yeah, I put them in there, trying to, use them as like a gimmick, whatnot. And literally 2 or 3 days after we built the site, we started getting a few orders. And they would come in onesies or twosies. And we actually had a live chat application plugged into the site. And
that's pretty sophisticated for that time.
It was back then. It was something called live chat, I believe. And anytime somebody would come on the site, it would ding dong. We'd get a little ding dong indicator or alert. And I would go work second shift, and my wife would have the computer on at night, and then she would call me at lunchtime and say, hey, we had so many visitors, or, a couple orders came in. And
it becomes addicting. You just want to sit there and listen to that.
And it was so funny because she would call me and say, do you know we just had 8 orders, and, we were very excited about it. And so this carried on over the course of a few months, and after about 3 months of trying to improve the site, and we took our own pictures, and that was taking a DSLR camera, putting the pictures on a table, and then editing them ourselves and learning that whole process. And they were terrible pictures because they weren't like the nice white backgrounds that you get now.
Right.
Stuff. They were like on a concrete floor or on a kitchen table type thing. We started getting quite a bit of orders coming through. And then we were also taking duffel bags of these glasses to work.
You were?
And selling them at work.
Oh, selling them at work.
Yeah. And it was getting to the point where, the factory we worked in at the time had about 700, maybe 800 employees. And you'd have to swipe your card to get in the door. It was getting to the point where we couldn't even get through the door before we could swipe our card because people were attacking us trying to get new safety glasses.
There's just such a need. Because how did you choose the 25 glasses? Obviously, you have experience with it because there's things you don't like. But how'd you find 25 different safety glasses that you liked? I mean, you could have gone with 5. You could have gone with 50.
Right. We thought 25 was just a good number. And the way at the time, our Yahoo store, you could display 5 products in a row. So that was kind of so we had 5 rows of 5, basically. It looked nice to us. And we chose the eyewear based upon the cool factor more than anything else.
Right.
We were looking like, hey, yeah, guys would like to wear that. That's pretty cool. And then we'd also look at some other styles. It was like, yeah, I think the ladies would like to wear that. That's pretty cool. And that's pretty much what we based everything on, was cool factor. And it paid off.
So they would rush you at the door. How often do you need new safety glasses? Like once you sell to all of them, do they need them again for a while, or?
It depends. A lot of it depends on the environment that you work in. Some environments are real easy on your eyewear, and then there's other environments that maybe they have a lot of dust or debris or liquid spray or whatever, and so your eyewear can deteriorate pretty quick.
So you have to have some backups.
Correct. Yeah. Sometimes it'll last a couple weeks. In certain environments, you might get a couple days out of them. It just depends.
And so with the eyewear itself, what was the best selling then? What's the best selling now?
Back then the style or the brand was Cruise, and I believe it's called the Ice, ICE. They had the Ice 1.0, and then eventually they came out with the Ice 2.0.
Why was it popular?
And it had a translucent frosted clear frame.
So just for the look of it. It wasn't a
for
functional
the
thing.
It was a clear frame, and it was a nice wraparound style. So it looked more like a pair of sunglasses, but clear frame and a clear lens. And people just loved them compared to the old boxy, gigantic things that people would wear.
And then what about now? What are some
Probably
of the most
now
popular?
are like your company called Pyramex. They sell a ton of really nice ergonomically designed styles. Their Pyramex Z-Tech is extremely popular. Intruders. Plus, they've branched off and make some sports eyewear now called Venture Gear that's geared more towards
Yeah.
the outdoors market.
Yeah.
The-
I mean,
very stylish.
Mike, you probably have your finger on the pulse of these things, right? The Pyramex. Probably you were using it before it went mainstream, I would
Correct.
assume. How do you stay on top of the trends and what's going on?
We are in a unique position because we also sell fashion eyewear, sunglasses. I should say sports eyewear. So we also carry like Oakley SI, those type of things. So we see some of the trends that happen in the sports and the fashion market, which eventually trickles down into the safety market as well. So we can kind of, I don't want to say we can predict, but we can kind of get a good feeling about what styles are going to become popular.
Yeah. I want to talk about, and we were talking before we started about the evolution of e-commerce, right?
Sure.
And the beginning, 2000, and, decades later, that things have evolved, software has evolved, websites have evolved, shopping carts evolved, and the products have evolved. And so I want to talk a little bit about the evolution on each of those, but I want to start with the products. Okay, so you started off with these 25 versions of protective eyewear, and when anyone looks at your site, you can get safety glasses, safety goggles, safety gear, sports eyewear, sunglasses, prescription eyewear, and then more stuff than that. And there's things like bifocals and for shooting and women's, and so it started off as safety. Then tell me, what was the next evolution? Where did you branch out? It may have been just more safety eyewear, but
Yep. For a while, for a few years, it was just increasing the number of safety eyewear products that we had, bringing on new brands. And then after we kind of felt like we had our bases covered on the safety eyewear side, then we started looking at expanding into some sports eyewear. And then eventually we were able to market ourselves and acquire some of the high-end brands like your Oakleys, your Wiley X's, those type of things. And then we felt like, okay, people are coming here to buy safety eyewear. We should probably offer some other safety products as well. So we got into hearing protection, some reflective clothing, hard hats, that type of thing. So what we try to do is offer a one-stop shop for all protective eyewear, or what we call it PPE, personal protective equipment.
Yeah. So when you decided to branch into sports eyewear from protective eyewear, how did you come to that decision? Was it customers were demanding things? Were you just seeing, I think that this is a direct offshoot of what we're doing anyways? How did you decide? Because here's the thing, and I'm not sure, you can talk a little about this. I don't know if you have to carry inventory, but I mean, it's a big decision to branch off even to one more product.
Oh, it is, absolutely. I think part of it was there was some customer demands, some customer requests. It's like, you guys should carry this. And then the other part of it too was kind of diversifying. We didn't want to have all our eggs in one basket, so to speak. And we decided that, if we're going to go into the sports market, let's carry the top brands. Let's not dilute the whole site with everything. Let's pick on the stuff that we would wear personally. And so we identified those brands that we were interested in, that we would personally wear, and that's what we decided to carry. And sorry.
No, go ahead.
So the second part of that too was it was somewhat business based, because on the higher end eyewear there's greater margin, and so the profitability was increased by offering those products as well.
Yeah, because I was talking to someone last week about they for some reason can't wear contacts and they play basketball, and so they go, I either wear my glasses or I just miss every shot because they don't wear
I can do that whether I'm wearing glasses or not.
Right, exactly. And I said, why don't you get something out there that, that is a prescription or whatever the case is. So I'll have to point them to your site. Can someone use that, like order from you? How does it work if they want to do obviously prescription glasses with like the sports eyewear for basketball?
Sure. The prescription side of it, we actually have just got involved with. That's kind of a new offering for 2018. We actually teamed up with SportRx. We've teamed up with them, and they handle all of our prescription side. So by going to our website and clicking on the prescription eyewear link, you can select basically from subcategories. Are you looking for sports eyewear? Are you looking for motorcycle eyewear, et cetera, et cetera? And from there, they can go on there, enter their prescription, and order any style that they want. And there's literally like 1,700 different styles there that they can go choose.
So the latest from the evolution of the product standpoint, more from safety glasses and the sports eyewear, and kind of branched more into kind of sunglasses and now prescription. What is the most popular category now? Is it still safety glasses?
Yeah, safety is still our forte, and it probably will be for quite a while. Although we are seeing an increased interest in shooting eyewear and that type of thing. And we're seeing an increase, I guess the best way I can describe it is multifunction eyewear, where the safety eyewear has become so fashionable now that a lot of people, they wear them to work and they wear them home. They're good enough looking that they can wear them as fashion eyewear.
As opposed to the big bulky. I want to see a before and after picture on your site somewhere. Like, this is what it used to be like, and this is what it's like now.
Yeah, a good example would be the Cruise Stratus is a very early example of what we used to have to wear. Believe it or not, we still sell a lot of them.
Really?
Because they're inexpensive.
Oh. So talk about, from still on the evolution of the product side, I want to talk about your own brand piece.
Sure.
What are your thoughts? We talked a little about, the private label or your own brand. What have you done in that, or what will you do in that arena? Because I feel it's a natural thing. I mean, you guys have safetyglassesusa.com. So you are, just from the domain, the authority in the space, besides doing it for almost a couple decades.
Right, and that's something that we're trying to do is stay the authority in that realm. We started thinking seriously about private labeling probably in the third quarter 2017. And
why then, and not never, or not 3 years ago?
Partially because we didn't realize how important it is. I think some of it was just being naive on our behalf.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like I see the mentality a little bit. Tell me if I'm wrong. People are already looking for certain brands. Is that them? And so you're like, why make it more difficult? Was that the reasoning, or is there something beyond that?
It was part of that. I think part of it was we just never really thought about it very much, and there was never this pressure from the outside that says you need to go get your own private label, your private brand. That all kind of changed in 2017, and probably earlier for many other businesses, with the popularity of your other sales channels, with especially Amazon being the 800-pound gorilla.
Right.
I'm guilty of it. I use Amazon probably as much as anybody else, and we do sell on Amazon.
You do.
But sometimes it feels like it's a race to the bottom.
Because there's other people selling the same exact thing, and so how do people differentiate outside of price? Is there a way to differentiate?
Especially with safety eyewear, because it's more of a commodity than, say, other types of products. And so it gets a little frustrating trying to sell the stuff at razor-thin margins. And so we're like, how do we protect ourselves? And we're like, you know what? I think we need to start our own brand so that we can maybe institute some type of a MAP policy or an Amazon policy to protect our brand and go from there.
Yeah, and besides, you probably know the nuances and how to improve something, right? I mean,
we know what sells.
Yeah, like how you saw early on there was a need to improve just the buying of them, and then you improve, kind of made it, brought in more fashionable stuff. So I don't know if you are allowed to say, but how would you improve for yours? How would you improve on what's already out there?
Well, to be honest, to our initial offering will probably be emulations of components that we already know that sell, or styles that we already know with our own variation. We'll probably sell everything will be offered in an anti-fog lens. You see a lot of times that for cost purposes, the things come in a non-treated lens or whatnot. We're not going to play that game. We're going to go right with everything's anti-fog. Right. We'll probably offer some other types of lens materials. Right now, polycarbonate is the lion's share of lens material for safety eyewear.
Why is that? If it like shatters or something, does it hit your eye or something? Or no?
Well, it doesn't shatter. It doesn't. But it's cheap to produce. The optics are fairly well for polycarbonate. It's been popular forever, for decades. There's another material called CRT that does just as well, and there's another one that's called NXT, which shares all the similar attributes of polycarbonate, but the optics clarity is better. The impact resistance is better. And then if you use any type of transition lens, it transitions better than polycarbonate.
What are the challenges, Mike, of doing your own? Obviously, there's a lot of benefits, right? You don't have to compete. You don't have to. It's not a race to the bottom. What are some of the challenges?
I think challenges are brand awareness to begin with. How do you promote your brand? I think some other things too are, I guess, the crystal ball aspect of it, is like, can you really predict if a style is going to sell? I mean, you can have all the indicators. It's like, it looks just like this other style that sells really well. How come ours isn't? Right. So, you have that risk now of having maybe excess inventory in a particular style that doesn't sell, which means, you've wasted some investment dollars on that.
Yeah. Do you have to house a lot of the products?
We warehouse a lot of products. There are a handful of things that we drop ship.
Yeah.
But I would say 95% we warehouse ourselves.
So how do you differentiate on other channels besides price? How do people differentiate?
It's very difficult. Sometimes you can do it through clarity of information.
Yeah.
Which sometimes, and I'm sure you're familiar with this, on Amazon isn't always the easiest, because it's almost like a chicken before the egg problem, where you go to list something and somebody's beat you to the punch, but maybe they didn't list it very well or very accurately, and so you're like, so now you're stuck in that situation of trying to correct the errors, and it takes forever. But really on Amazon, the only way you can differentiate yourself is primarily price. At least that's what I've found out.
Yeah. Talk about the evolution of sales channels. So you start off, you have the Yahoo store.
Yep.
What was the next evolution?
We were actually in the Yahoo stores for an extremely long time. It's one of those things where, you've been on a platform for so long, you just become embedded in it. And we started seeing the writing.
It's more painful to switch than you know how to switch.
Absolutely. Because then all your back-end systems are tied into it. So it's not just changing platforms. It's like changing everything you do. Yeah. All your procedures basically go out the window and rewrite them. But it's the evolution of platforms started, I would say, probably 2014, when we started seeing all the news about Yahoo and it's potentially going to be sold off. And in fact, they did sell off the small business section. So in 2015, we started making plans to migrate, but we weren't sure where we wanted to go. For the longest time, we thought maybe Shopify. So what we did was we just opened up a couple of small test stores on different platforms and started to play around with them and see which ones we liked.
Which one did you test?
Shopify? We ended up selling BigCommerce.
BigCommerce and Shopify?
Yeah, BigCommerce is what we settled on. Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Why?
We liked the back end was much easier than Shopify for us, and light years ahead of what Yahoo was offering. It had it was the app selection. They had some built-in apps and an app market. It wasn't quite as robust as Shopify, But I think the one thing at the time that bothered me about Shopify was it seemed that it was very a la carte. Whereas if you want this function, get an app. If you want this function, go get another app.
BigCommerce, you felt, included more of those functions within
Yes.
within the platform.
It was more of a complete turnkey for what we needed.
Yes. So Yahoo Stores, then BigCommerce, now BigCommerce, and then when did you start branching into other kind of sales channels platforms?
First quarter of 2017.
So this is pretty recent.
It is. A lot has happened, and 2017 was kind of the year. It was like, okay, we need to start making decisions because we're falling behind.
So where else? So Amazon, where else can people find
eBay?
Your stuff? eBay, okay.
And Walmart Marketplace.
And was that a tough decision to do? It seems like Amazon is an obvious one because everyone's going on there. Was it tougher the decision to do eBay and Walmart, or no?
Actually, eBay was our first decision.
Oh, it was?
And it's been very successful for us. We have a lot of success on eBay, and I actually really enjoy the platform. I think they've done a very good job. Amazon was next, and then the Walmart Marketplace.
And then software-wise, so you switched to BigCommerce. What other software or apps do you use to run the business?
Sure. Our back-end systems, which is also our inventory and order management and CRM, is OrderMotion. Okay. They're actually out of Manhattan, and we've been using them since 2004. And they were recently purchased by Oracle.
Wow.
And which is nice because they've got some, I guess, more funds for development. So they've really ramped up their development cycle, which is nice.
What else? What are some other integral pieces that you use?
Sure. For the multi-channel listings, we use Channel Advisor. And that helps us tie everything together. And then we used a small consulting firm to custom build an API that ties everything together.
Nice. So from the products and the, I guess, the software and sales channel, I guess the next piece is staffing. So in the beginning, it's you and your partner with a duffel bag. And,
it's just
and your
us,
wife.
Just the two of us. And we did that for about a year. And then he had some family issues he had to deal with, and so I ended up buying his half out and moved it to the garage. And we built a little office in our basement, and so we would process orders and answer the phones in the basement, and then I would run upstairs and pack the orders and hurry off to second shift, and then come home, do any little things I needed to do, and repeat that process. After about 6 more months of that, we were growing exponentially, and we're like, okay, we were living in a subdivision at the time, and it was frowned upon that UPS was showing up so often, to packages and delivered. So we decided to buy a small home outside of the city limits that had a detached 2-car garage. So we bought that house, moved out there, and hired our first employee.
What for?
And
packing?
she worked in the inventory. She did all the inventory and all the packing. And then we decided, okay, let's add on to the 2-car garage. So we added an office onto the side of the garage. Hired
like new construction.
Yep, new construction. Yep. Hired 2 more employees to help with the office, taking orders and that type of functionality. And then we ran into a situation where the UPS driver ran over one of the neighbor's dogs.
Oh my God.
Which, unfortunately, the neighbor was associated with the township board. So that created some red tape and some pressure that we're, probably shouldn't be running a business out of our home. And so, long story short, we bought our first commercial building in 2004.
Wow. That's a big deal.
It was a big gap. That was that was our first big loan, and it was pretty nervous. And I'm still working a second shift. I'm still working a full-time job.
At the time.
At the time.
Yeah.
So we buy this building, we move everything in there and get everything set up, and we have to buy furniture and all that type of stuff. And now we're getting to the point where, okay, I'm burning the candle at both ends here, and I've been doing it for almost 5 years.
Yeah.
I need to make a decision.
Yeah.
Am I going to do this full time, or are we going to maybe try to sell it or something of that nature? Because I just can't keep going.
It's a lot.
It's a lot.
I mean, your second shift, what are the hours second shift? What is that, from 1 to 1?
I think it was at 2 p.m. until either 11 or midnight. And at the time...
I mean, how much are you sleeping? Like 2 hours? I mean...
I'm getting like maybe 4 hours a night, roughly.
Wow.
We have children, so we have babies to take care of, and
that's crazy. Yeah.
Yeah, it was getting very stressful. So after a long discussion, with my wife, I decided to take a leave of absence from the factory, and they allowed me to take a 3-month leave of absence. I came back, no problem. I could continue right where I left off.
What did you tell them? Did you just tell them I have my own business, I'm going to go at it, or?
And they knew about it because they saw how popular it was at the factory and everything, and they knew something was happening.
Yeah. It was nice they let you do that, like bring in the stuff and sell to the staff and everything.
It was something that I was very grateful, and they really treated me very nice there. It was a great place to work, honestly. And then one another reason why it was such a hard decision, you're losing your medical benefits and at the time a very stable and good paying job. Yeah. So it was
and
great.
You probably have a lot of friends there too.
A lot of friends. And you know how it is. You get a lot of advice, whether it's advice you want or maybe advice you don't want. And so it's very difficult to weigh the pros and cons. But again, we decided, let's do it. 3 months leave of absence. And once that started, I never looked back.
Yeah.
Once I was able to devote 100% of my time to running the company, things really improved dramatically. And again, growth was exponential. And it's probably the best decision that I made ever.
When you decided to go full time in that amount of time, where did you focus your energy where you couldn't before?
More energy in building the content of the site, better photography. That was something that even in 2004, 2005, imagery for the products was almost non-existent. It's like you'd have a salesman show up at the door, hey, here's the new products. Well, if you wanted pictures, you got to take them yourself because the vendors just weren't offering them.
Right.
Or if they were offered, they were such poor quality that they just didn't really condone themselves to online sales. Mm-hmm. So just pouring myself into producing the content, rewriting, or even inventing the product descriptions. So that's where in 2006, my next acquisition was to hire a graphic artist. And actually was a friend of mine that I used to work at one of the factory jobs that I had. And he was kind of a Photoshop guru. And that really helped a lot right there with everything.
So a lot of the staff, is it they have to spend time packing orders and doing kind of the warehousing stuff?
Yeah, currently it's we have CSRs up front that field all the customer service requests. We have one person who's responsible for payables and receivables. We have an office manager. I have IT manager now that handles not only online security but also building security. I have a sales manager who basically manages all the product data and price changing and GSA accounts. We have the graphic artist. We have a warehouse manager and purchasing manager who's responsible for maintaining the warehouse and reordering all the product. And then we have 3 shipping lanes. So we have 3 people for shipping and receiving. And we have a person for managing. We have a small store in the warehouse for our local customers. Nice. Takes care of that.
So Mike, what was the toughest hire, but you look back and it was your best hire? Meaning maybe it was hard for you to let go of something, like I can do this, but it proved to just shoot the company up because you could spend your time on other things.
I would say the hardest one was the warehouse manager. slash purchasing manager. It's kind of a multi-hat job.
Mm-hmm.
It was so difficult to let go of ordering product and reordering because you're spending money, right? And so
yeah. So what process did you put in place? Because you could see it, and you're like, okay. You also have it's maybe. I mean, it sounds like obviously you're in the Marines. You probably have a ton of systems for things, but it's also a little bit of a feel probably where you're like, I kind of feel like there's going to be more of sales in this month and this product. So
right.
How did you train them?
It was really difficult, and to be perfectly honest with you, at that time frame, we're talking 2006 now, 2006, 2007 time frame. We were still operating a little helter-skelter. We really didn't have a good set of written procedures down yet. We were still kind of flying by the seat of our pants. And like, you know, when it's your company, you live it and breathe it, right? Mm-hmm. So you know everything that's going on. You're basically have your finger on the pulse, and it's so difficult to, when you hire a person to take over that particular aspect of the job, are they going to care as much as you care, and will they have the insights that you have? And so you try to communicate it to them, but it's different, you know. It's when it's something that you own and you've built. Your feeling for something is just so much stronger than theirs. Well, at least you think it is. And I come to find out that all my worries were unjustified. I mean, this person did a fantastic job, a far better job that I could have done. You know, they came from another business, so they had experience in inventory management where I didn't. So they were able to put in place procedures that I never considered.
Yeah. So then, what can you start doing? It sounded like that was that was freeing for you. You put someone in place that was good. You could spend your time doing other stuff. What do you then do?
From that point, it's communicating.
Catch up on sleep because you're sleeping 4 hours a night for 10 years.
Children at home. Absolutely. You know, I think a lot of it is just, okay, I don't have to do that anymore. So let's talk to vendors. Let's ramp up more brands, bring in more brands. Now we're talking about 2008. We're busting at the seams. We've outgrown the building that I said we'd never outgrow. We are in a 4,800 square foot building. I believe it was 800 square feet of office and 4,000 square feet of warehouse. We're busting at the seams. We got no place to put anybody or anything. So we're like, okay, what are we going to do now? And so there's a small industrial park just south of town. And so we go over there on a whim, and we go drive over there to see if anything's available. And lo and behold, there's a building that's 15,000 square feet, and the company just consolidated to Ohio, and they're going to sell this building. Right? This would be perfect.
What was it before?
It was a facility that resharpened industrial cutting tools. And so you can imagine resharpening industrial cutting tools. It was just filthy and grimy. There was like cutting oil overspray everywhere, and
like the dust of metals and other things.
It was just horrendous. It's like, wow, what a bunch of cleanup this would take. And ultimately, push come to shove, the price was right, so we decided to purchase the building.
Yeah.
So 2008, we moved into this new building, cleaned it all up. I think we spent something like $50,000 just to clean up the building. We had to grind the concrete floors, repaint the entire building, tear out all the electrical infrastructure.
Big project.
But we finally get it done. We're all moved in. And again, it was probably the second best move we've ever did because we're still in that facility today, and it's worked out beautiful for us. And then we're leasing the previous building that we're in, so now we've got an additional revenue stream. Yeah, it worked out great. The only problem was we're talking 2008, and now the housing market crashes.
Right.
Which, when the market crashed, didn't affect us immediately. It really hit us about a year after.
Why?
That's when the housing market, just literally nobody was building houses. And then you have all the subsequent industries,
like contractors that didn't need the safety glasses.
We don't have any employees anymore. We don't need to hire anybody. And so the safety market kind of crashed a year after. And, so those are probably a rough 2 years after that. It was really difficult trying to scrounge up orders. And it wasn't just us. It was everybody in that category.
Yeah.
But that's kind of where the fashion side helped us, because of the profitability in the fashion market kind of helped offset some of it. Not all of it, some of it. So
yeah. What niche has most surprised you? Meaning, like, you got an order from, I don't know, some strange business you didn't know existed, but they need, maybe it's safety glasses, protective glasses, maybe not.
Probably two. The two that surprised me the most are the people that like the vintage eyewear. So think of like the old plastic Buddy Holly type glasses with side shields. I am still surprised at this day how many people like those. And it's not like just old guys. It's, I think some of it has to come from maybe like the hipster culture and that type of thing. So that's one niche that surprised me. And I think the second one is laser protective eyewear. I didn't realize how many institutions, labs, universities use laser safety eyewear. And we're teamed up with a company out of Lyons, Michigan that actually produces them. And it drives a significant volume.
Have you seen anything of late with computers?
Yes.
And I don't know. I mean, I have conspiracy theories about the radiation from computers that are affecting us, but you probably know more, actually have data to back it up. But should people be wearing protective eyewear when they're sitting in a computer all day? Most people are. And if so, what is best?
I think the danger...
And of course, they should buy it on safetyglassesusa.com.
Sure.
But...
Well, just keep in mind, as a disclaimer, I'm not a physician, so...
And you don't play one on TV, nor did you stay in a Holiday Inn. Got it. Correct. All disclaimers, yes.
And none of those qualify me. But the one thing that your monitor does produce is blue light. And blue light has been known to cause irregularities with your sleeping patterns, because you're tricking your brain into thinking it's still daylight. So we have seen people who maybe suffer from blue light-induced insomnia have seen benefits from wearing eyewear that blocks blue light, which is traditionally like, say, some of the styles that you see out there with computer gaming eyewear. They have like a yellowish tint to them.
Yeah.
And that's primarily for blocking blue light.
I see that like in your webpage under the shooting. The guy's wearing some kind of glasses with the shooting. What is that? It looks like an orange tint to it. Is that something different?
It's similar. You'll notice that like in shooting eyewear, people wear a yellow lens or an orange lens, and a lot of that is to increase contrast and improve your depth perception. And some of that comes from filtering specific wavelengths of light, and blue light is one of those that blue light can cause distortion in your vision, and during daylight hours you don't realize how much blue light you're actually being exposed to. It's quite a bit. And by reducing it, you can really enhance your clarity. It makes a significant difference.
So which glasses, like on your site, what category would people go to if they want to block that blue light? Like if they just wanted something for they don't, just for the computer.
Sure. We actually have a section under safety glasses called computer safety glasses or computer glasses. And there's a couple of brands in there that are specifically designed for computer wear.
Got it. Cool. Throughout this journey, Mike, you have to make a lot of big decisions. Who's a mentor or someone? Who do you turn to for advice when you have to go through these?
Sure. Early on, I was lucky enough to stumble upon Joe Palko.
Yeah, that's how we met.
He was one of the founders of Solid Cactus, and I believe before that it was Y Store Builders, I believe, which eventually evolved into Solid Cactus, which was a Yahoo Store developer. Joe and I, right off the beginning, we pretty much hit it off, and they were already running a very successful e-commerce business called the Ferret Store. So he had some experience, and he was, he shared a lot of the do's and don'ts.
What what's some of the best advice he gave you that you remember?
Write your own product descriptions. As painful as that can be, it's extremely important. And he's also the person that told me about Google AdWords before it was Google AdWords. I think at the time it was called Overture, I believe, which eventually was either bought by Google or evolved into Google AdWords. So we were buying AdWords before it was AdWords. And over time, Joe also helped me with SEO, educate myself in SEO, or pointing me in the direction of SEO experts and articles and that type of thing.
What are some of the don'ts? Even from your standpoint too.
Things to don't do?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That you found that you thought it would work, maybe it just didn't at all, or yeah.
I think my biggest thing is don't be a copycat. Anybody can go online and copy and paste. That's not going to get you anywhere. You have to create content that makes you stand out from the crowd, which is not easy. It's difficult. You're a content creator. You know how hard it is to create unique content. And I think that's the thing is don't copy and paste, because it's not going to get you anywhere. You think it is, but it does nothing for you.
Yeah. I mean, you were brought on by Irish CE to talk about this topic, about content. What's your process for creating good content for your site?
I don't have my notes right in front of me, but I'll try to wing it. Basically, I use a couple of different SEO and keyword tools to go out there and kind of find things that are trending.
Yeah.
I really like to find, to me, more important than keywords are like question phrases. So what are popular questions that people are posing about any particular keyword? So an example, I could type in safety glasses, and it'll show me all the questions that people have asked about that. I try to structure my content around answering those questions as in-depth as possible.
Yeah. No wonder they just speak. It's genius. I love that.
Yeah. Some markets it doesn't work for, but for our market,
I don't see what market it wouldn't work for. I mean,
that's a good point.
Someone's always going to have questions when they're buying something. Maybe some are going to be simpler than others, or maybe some kind of electronic, maybe more complicated than something that is, I don't know, like a T-shirt or something.
Right.
But definitely, people always have questions, whether it's a size or color. And so, do you have a set amount of time that you spend each day or week doing this, or do you just kind of, here's what I want the flow to look like, and you kind of tell the team, this is what I want you to follow?
So we work with an outside writer who actually lives here in Three Rivers.
Nice.
And this was another thing that was very difficult for me to let go of. We sit down 4 times a year and plan out quarterly topics. And then from there, we kind of prioritize on the different topics. And sometimes it's maybe not creating something from scratch. Maybe it's refreshing a current topic, as things evolve. She'll go ahead and write out the lion's share of the article. Our graphic artist will add any type of imagery or video. And then I'll edit the content and do the final editing version.
I love hearing this because I think maybe some of people's perception is just get a product and slap it up online and start selling it, but there's definitely a methodology behind everything you're doing,
You have to, and you have to be consistent. Like I said, anybody can copy and paste, and so if you're just going to copy the vendor's descriptions, the vendor's images, and throw it online, there's 1,000 other people doing the same thing. And so you have to find a way to differentiate yourself.
And so on the mentor topic,
Sure.
Mike, I'm sure a big influence was the Marines. What were some big lessons you took from the Marines, and if you have any crazy stories that you're allowed to share?
Yeah. I think probably the biggest lesson is don't quit. As much as we talk about the success of running an e-commerce business for 17 years, that doesn't mean we didn't have hurdles or downtime or moments when we thought, okay, maybe this isn't the right thing to do. I definitely received my fair share of criticism, whether it be from family members or friends saying this is never going to work. Who's going to buy safety glasses online? That's stupid. That type of thing that you get when you try to do something of this nature. And so I think the biggest thing I take from the Marine Corps is you don't quit, don't give up, just keep moving forward.
What did that look like in the Marine Corps for you? Was like a specific routine of a run or a workout? What do you remember that taught you
it's just that mentality that's at the time. I went into boot camp in 1991, was just after the first Iraq War, and it was just drilled into you that you never give up, no matter how bad you're hurting or what the situation is. You just don't quit. You just keep moving forward until either you succeed or you die. Point blank.
Right.
And it just kind of carried over to me. I guess I just had that mentality that I don't care how bad the circumstances are, I'm going to keep trying. And ultimately, it paid off.
What made you decide to join the Marines?
Both of my fathers served in World War II in the Army. I had a few cousins and nieces that served in the Navy. My dad spent a career in the Air Force. So I've been surrounded by military members all my life. I decided to join the Marine Corps because when I was in high school, I was approached by a Marine Corps recruiter, and there was just something about that branch that just really struck a chord with me. I liked how they, the honor that they held and the traditions and so forth, and so that really appealed to me, and that's one of the reasons that I joined.
Yeah, it looked like you were sort of like an engineer. You were putting together different parts. What did you do?
I actually was a mechanic.
A mechanic, okay.
So I was a diesel mechanic. I went to diesel school. I was a 3522 was my MOS. So day-to-day activities were repairing Humvees, 5-ton trucks. I spent a year in Japan, in Iwakuni, Japan, which was a Marine Corps air station. When I showed up, my first day there, it's kind of a funny story. My first day there, they have these 5,000-gallon refueling tankers for the aircraft. And they had 15 of them, and 2 of them worked. And
wow, they're like, good luck.
Yeah, and basically what happened is the guy who was responsible for working on those tankers was arrested because he was illegally selling motorcycle parts.
He had his own e-commerce business.
Yeah, he was in the brig. And so they're like, and the reason they selected me is because when I was in high school, I took 2 years of vocational automotive. And the small engines that we worked on were built by Oshkosh. And lo and behold, those 5,000-gallon tankers use Oshkosh engines for the pump motors. So like, here you go, have fun. And so over the course of 6 months, I was able to get all 15 of those tankers running.
That's amazing.
It was a lot of work and a lot of overtime, so to speak, but it was very gratifying. It was something I really enjoyed. I loved being a mechanic, and the conditions and the way that unit was run was fantastic. The really cool thing is the people who worked on the flight line, the Marines, were so happy that they actually had working tankers and they were in good repair, that they would often invite me out to the flight line and allow me to help refuel different types of aircraft. So, I was able to experience refueling F-18s, different types of helicopters, and I just had a blast. It was very cool.
You're beloved. What would you say, a most memorable story or moment when you're in the Marines?
Well, there's a couple. Again, this is when I'm stationed at Iwakuni. I suffered an injury while working on a refueling tanker. We had to replace a hose reel. Every tanker has 2 retractable hoses, and they're different diameters. And the spring for this retractor was broken, so we had to replace it. So if you can imagine under the belly of a tanker, it looks like a semi-truck, like a big milk truck tanker. There's a big metal cage, and inside those metal cages are where the hose reels reside. And then it has a spring-loaded metal door that you lift up to access everything.
I'm already getting scared. I'm under a huge truck, and there's something that's spring-loaded. Okay.
It takes 2 guys to get this hose reel out of here because it's so heavy.
Wow.
And so, you're breaking these bolts loose, and then you're rocking it back and forth to kind of unseat it so you can lift up and out of there. Well, we weren't paying very good attention, and we didn't realize that this spring-loaded door, 3 of the 4 springs were broken. So it only had 1 spring keeping it up. And this door weighs probably, I'm estimating 180 pounds probably. It's like a metal mesh door made out of pretty heavy-duty metal.
Right.
Well, anyway, as we're rocking this hose reel back and forth, the door falls, and the edge of it hits me right on the top of the head and splits my head open.
Oh, horrible.
Yeah, and so I end up getting rushed to medical, and a long story short, my nickname for my rest of my tour there was Zipperhead.
Well, I'm glad we could laugh about it and you're alive to talk about it. That is crazy. I want you to talk a minute about EDC Planet.
Sure.
What is
it's
EDC Planet? And
EDC.
For people that don't know.
Yeah, EDC Planet is a hobby, and it stands for Everyday Carry, which means the things that you carry on you every day, the items you feel are essential that you must have with you at all times. And it differs from person to person. And so it's a forum where you can go and share imagery or discuss those things that you carry with you on a daily basis.
So is this like weapons or what? Like
what kind of stuff? Could be. Some people feel like I got to have a certain type of pen. I've got to have, a field notebook to write down my ideas or my lists. It could be a pocket knife.
What made you start that?
Just an interest in that. There was a back when Tumblr was super popular. I was active on Tumblr, and there was a college student who would share different types of imagery from people who we call them pocket dumps, where you take everything out of your pockets and you put it on the table and arrange it and then take a picture of it and share it. And this is what everything is and where you can find it. And he did a very good job with that. And I'm like, it'd be kind of fun to have a forum like that. And so as a hobby, I built EDC Planet as a forum, kind of almost like a self-indulgence, so to speak.
When I first read that, I thought it was more for I picture people kind of protecting themselves with there's like a knife or gun, but it's not that at all. It could just be anything.
It could be anything. Now there are sections for people who carry weapons, but that's not the sole purpose of it. No.
So, Mike, first of all, I want to be the first one to thank you. This has been awesome. I love hearing the journey story, and really it's cool to hear sort of the evolution of the e-commerce journey from 2000. I wanted to ask 2 final questions, since it's Inspired Insider. And one is the lowest moment, something that you had to really push. You talk about, never quit moment. What was a low moment? And then the flip side, what's been a proud moment that you've had with the business?
I think the low moment was after the housing crash, because there was a time there when we weren't quite sure if we were going to make it. We were forced to lay off a few employees. We really had to tighten our belt, so to speak, really get a handle on expenses. And so that was probably a low moment just because there was so much worry and anxiety going on.
It's amazing how after 8 years that can happen so quickly.
It is, and it was in a blink of an eye, and it was, you're calling people that you trust in the industry, and they're having the same problem, and you're calling on customers who've been great customers for a long time, and they're like, you're getting a busy signal because they've closed their doors, and it was just a very sinking feeling of not knowing what's next. We were able to get through that. I think probably for a high moment, knowing that I became fully self-employed. I think that was a high moment, knowing that I was no longer working for the man, so to speak.
Yeah. Any other proud moments that you've had?
Oh, plenty along the way. We've had milestones here and there. We have a GSA schedule, being able to get through all the red tape and have a GSA schedule so that we can sell specific products to the government was a big milestone. A couple of brands, getting authorized to sell Oakley and Oakley SI products was a big milestone.
Is that hard? Is that a lot of people
fighting? It can be
fighting?
very difficult, because they don't just accept anybody.
Yeah.
I think another thing that we're very proud about is the number of positive reviews we have from customers. To me, that speaks volumes. And I still, to this day, get a summary of all the reviews that happen in the day, and I go through every single one of them.
It seemed like even early on for you, Mike, that you stressed customer service. Probably, not everyone who started the Yahoo store, they were just trying to figure out the Yahoo store. They weren't probably bothering with the live chat function. That seemed that it was kind of part of your value. Now, how do you train the customer service staff to, like you said, the people coming back, and the customer service is huge?
Well, the one thing that the mantra that we pretty much live by is, we got to take care of the customer, somebody else will. In this day and age, it's awfully easy for somebody to go just somewhere else, because really another vendor is only a mouse click away. So we really work hard at training our CSRs in product knowledge. We have training every Thursday for an hour on new products, and we also do reminder training on existing products and technology. And then we have really ironed out specific procedures now so that the customer service experience is consistent. It's like, hey, if I call customer service rep number 1, I'm going to get the same message if I call CSR number 3. So consistency is important to us. And, push come to shove, we'll eat an order if we have to. If we feel like, hey, this customer didn't do anything wrong, we'll take care of them in any way that we can.
Yeah. Mike, I think thank you again. I think everyone should check out safetyglassesusa.com. Where else should we point people towards, or is that the best place?
That's probably the best place if you're interested in that type of thing. I'm also available on Twitter. I think my handle is the Mike E73.
Okay. And then what about, I know you have a lot of information. Where can they find some of the information on, the content that you do?
All right, sure. We have a blog. It's blog.safetyglassesusa.com.
Cool. So everyone check out safetyglassesusa.com or blog.safetyglassesusa.com. Right. And Mike, thank you again. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Jeremy. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
What I got, you can't buy. It resides between my eyes. Walked through the fire, came out better on the other side. See, life's like a beach if you find the